Hello, everyone. I am Maddie. I am the deputy editor for Temple of Geek. I am here with Taylor, and we are going to be talking about all things Hamilton. Taylor, can you introduce yourself for everyone?
Sure. Hi, I'm Taylor Deathridge. I do a lot of things. I own a small business that's a nerdy business called Logan Arch, and I do other nerdy things. I work for a company called Alien Entertainment. I do social media marketing for them, and then I help run an event called Chicago TARDIS, which is all about Doctor Who. Usually happens every November. I don't think it's going to happen this year because of COVID, obviously, but we'll do something online and have fun anyway because Doctor Who fans are resilient.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we are. Kermit the Frog plush says rawr. Rawr.
Oh.
Oh no! Oh no. Did my live kick her off? Is that, oh no. Let's try this again. We lost connection. I don't know if that was my fault. Internet. Oh,
it's fine.
Sorry.
It's okay. It might have been me.
No. Yeah, that's okay. All right, we're back. It's all good. So we are just going to start geeking out about Hamilton. And if you guys have comments or questions you want to ask us or just general Hamilton things to say. So Taylor, why don't you start? You've seen it live, right? Yes,
I have. I was very, very, very privileged to have seen it twice. Once on Broadway, not with the original cast, some of the original cast. Today I put a post up. There's a photo of me and my partner and Chris Jackson, I have so many feelings about seeing him on Broadway. I cried when he came out on stage as George Washington. Aww. Singing. It was amazing because you hear it so much. You hear on the soundtrack and you play it over and over and you're like, wow, it's really this, moving. And then I saw it in Chicago when it opened. We organized a big group that went because at the time the only guarantee was if you could get a group together, you could get tickets. Right. So we did that and a bunch of us went to see it. It was amazing. Just as good. And yeah, I thought the of it personally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very cool. That's awesome. And see, I am I guess you could say the opposite end where I'm a new fan. So mm-hmm. I knew about Hamilton when it came out, but I didn't start listening to the soundtrack until I want to say a year ago. And
oh wow.
Yeah, and I didn't get through the full soundtrack because I do have a 5-year-old who dictates what we listen to in the car.
That makes sense.
So I could only get so far where he goes, Mom, I don't want to listen to this anymore, and it's just not a fight worth. It's not a fight worth having. So I just changed it,
We're just gonna stop now. It's okay.
Yeah. So
yeah.
As far as I got on the soundtrack was Satisfied, the wedding scene.
Oh wow. Okay.
So as far as
awesome.
I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know any of the songs, and it was awesome to see the original cast. And when I first listened to the soundtrack, I obviously I didn't know who was in this. I just knew Lin-Manuel Miranda was Hamilton.
Right.
And that was all I knew. And I'm listening to You'll Be Back, and I was like, why does this sound so familiar? And I looked down at my phone, and I was like, Christoph? like what? And it just blew me away. And then seeing him live, I'm like, all right, he's I know you're not supposed to like King George, but
no,
I like George.
Yeah. I mean, if you know him historically too, it's even worse. But Jonathan Groff makes him very, very hilarious. Yes.
Yes, it did make him just a fun, bubbly character. And whereas
sure,
this is okay, these things actually happened, and so the ending, but it still hits you,
Oh yeah.
Every single
yeah.
thing just yeah. Go ahead.
Oh no, I mean they do. I mean, Lin-Manuel Miranda is a genius when it comes to composition. If I won't be a nerd about this, but I studied music in school. I have an associate's degree in vocal performance. That means like literally nothing. It's just that because I like music, I've studied it for a long time, and then that's what happens if you're like, oh, I guess, okay. But if you break down Hamilton, like, or to open it up, and the parallel of, we all know that Aaron Burr, or at least, you have a familiarity of the fact of how it's going to end, like you're saying, but the parallel of his son dying in the same way, and the fact that he draws that and you see that is so much, I think it makes it so much more impactful in the end when you do it. Yes, Monica, I do sing. I have done. That's why I like musicals so much. Yes. There you go.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, you're so right with the parallel. Like when I will say this, I'm not a huge history nerd. Like I took AP US history in high school, and then I had to take history again in college, and while I enjoyed it, it wasn't something that like I was super into,
Right.
And so
yeah,
I did think that bringing history into musical form was like an insanely great idea.
Yes.
And then when I first listened to the soundtrack again, I was like, oh, this is rap. Like it's just something you just do not expect from a musical. And it has been a really long time since I remember them talking, and then talking would lead up to a song.
Mm-hmm.
And then they would sing and dance, do their number, and then they would talk a little more. And then, but this was just constant singing and rapping, and just the amount of talent.
Yes, I'm going to answer this person below here. Yes, I have seen 1776. That is a musical I grew up with. We used to play it. My 5th grade teacher was obsessed with it. Literally, she was, and she told us so. And so I think that's probably the first time I ever saw it was in 5th grade, 1776.
Okay, is it something that's very similar to? No.
Sort of.
A musical about history.
It's a musical about them signing the Declaration of Independence.
Oh, okay.
And it has the guy who is Mr. Feeney from Boy Meets World. He's John Adams.
Really?
That is, yes. I think generationally, that's why like our generation, like millennials, have gotten into it because of that. They find out William Daniels, I believe is his name, if I'm not wrong. I will correct myself if I am. Someone can correct me in the comments. That when you find that out, you're like, whoa, that's crazy. Because he was, an actor. He was in several things before he was in Boy Meets World ever as like a younger person. Mm-hmm. But we don't know, like when you're that age watching TGIF, you don't realize that. So I think it was a fun surprise for a lot of people. And yeah, I do like that Lin-Manuel slips in the sit down John joke in there. Because that is an actual line from 1776.
Really? That's a super fun Easter egg. Oh my goodness.
Yep. He had a whole song he cut out that was a reference to 1776, Lin-Manuel Miranda, when they did it in the final. So that was his like little remnant of it in that.
Oh, okay.
I agree with Arbiter 283 that Newsies is another really amazing musical. Another favorite. Go watch the movie. It has baby Christian Bale in it. Yeah, it's like Christian Bale when he's like 17 or something.
Oh my gosh, okay, I have to find that now.
That's probably on Disney Plus too because it was a Disney movie.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Nice. Okay.
Gotta watch it.
Love it. That's so fun. Yeah. So do you have like a favorite song or favorite like part from Hamilton? Yeah.
Nonstop is my jam.
Yeah.
I love that song. I could sing it forever. I could probably just sing it without anything in the background. It's my go power through things. That's something I've always done. So it's funny when you can have a song that literally says nonstop and is like a reflection of that. Right. It's awesome. And that's probably my favorite song overall. Yeah. But I have a lot of favorites that evoke just different emotions throughout.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I was going to say when it comes to stuff like this, like it's all so good. It's hard to choose just one. So you have to go with like, okay, this is my favorite when I'm sad, or this is my favorite when I need happy hormones, or this one's my favorite when I'm working, you know? So that's so cool. If you guys are popping in, we are talking about Hamilton. If you have any questions, if you have anything you just want to say while we are geeking out about Hamilfilm, drop them in the comments so we can chat with you. Yeah, and so, yeah. It's just so good. I honestly was like smiling the whole first act. I think mostly because I knew those songs.
Right, you're like, I know what this is.
Like,
yeah.
I can sing along to this part. And then just like the seeing, like I said, seeing the original cast is such a treasure that we all get to have that. And I was originally going to go see Hamilton in LA in March. Yeah. And so, you know, it was just so sad when, you know, everything started to get canceled. And I was like, man, this was like my shot to go see it. And now, and then they're, you know, they're like, surprise, we're bringing it early. And it was amazing. It was just so, it evoked such emotion that I wasn't expecting from myself. Like, I was happy crying, and then the second half, I was like sad crying the entire time. And it's like, I know this history, but just to see it in action just makes it all more real.
It's devastating.
You know, and then like being a mom to a son, having to watch, and the way they did the death scene, how it's
so much.
There are no words. It was so good and powerful and sad, and just, I can't. This dorky nerd asks, Taylor, was it different for you seeing it live versus on TV?
Yes and no. I will say there was a lot of detail that I think, I feel like I've seen a lot of photos, and since I've seen it more than once, I'll say I noticed a couple of things like costume-wise and more detail-oriented things that I probably hadn't noticed before. But overall, I think that I don't know, really. I know there in the film there's a lot of close-ups, and I've seen some comments from people about that already, which is interesting. Probably because there's a lot of choreography going on, like at any given time. Yeah. I didn't mind that though. I feel like it didn't detract at all personally, but that's me. I do like that. I'll say this, probably people who have just listened to the soundtrack over and over and over again, there's so much visuals, like what you just said about Philip dying, that you don't understand are occurring when you are hearing the music, and it flows into itself so well that you're shocked. Like it's actually like emotion evoking when you watch it. Yes. Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's a good point, how you were saying, like, when you see it live, you get to see the big picture, but it was cool to see, for someone who hasn't seen it live, the detail, like when they zoomed in on Philip, or like being able to kind of, like, I feel like they did a good job with rewind when you kind of got to see, and like for someone who only listened to the soundtrack, I had no idea. I didn't know that that's what was going on. I just rewind. I thought, oh, maybe she's just like having a side where she's like thinking about what had happened, when it's like, oh no, they are literally backing up and like making a whole scene showing exactly what happened, what she's singing about. And it blew my mind. This dorky nerd says, I didn't realize that Hamilton was funny. I had only heard the soundtrack. Seeing the facial expressions makes a huge difference. Yes.
It does. Yes, it definitely does.
Mm-hmm. And like the little, when at one point Alexander, goes like this in one of the songs.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he's being sassy. Like, I can see it now, versus just hearing it. And the little foot stomp from King George when he turns the light to blue.
Oh, yeah.
That was I was howling. I was laughing. I was like, oh my gosh, like the king is throwing a fit.
Yeah.
And you can see it. He's throwing a fit.
He's going for it. It's so true. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Yes, it was incredible. And it's funny because I was telling Monica that I should have put that together because music
right.
is long.
That's
And
fair.
it took me a little longer than 2 hours because when you have a child, you have to pause it and rewind. And okay, I didn't hear that. I need to see that again. But it left me very tired in like a good way. Like I was so excited to watch it, and I like was vibing in the beginning. And, like, oh my gosh, this is so cool! And then laughing, and then like happy crying, and then getting a little sad. And then Act 2 just like is a whole different feeling. And then I'm pretty sure I did cry like almost the entire time. That that last song when they're talking about this is what your legacy is. This is how I'm carrying on our emotions.
Like I'm crying. Yeah, no, it's a lot. I mean, it's a roller coaster of emotions, that musical is. I've never talked to somebody who's heard it and not said that to me. I'll actually say that. I don't think I've ever had someone tell me I felt nothing.
Right. Or, it was fine.
Yeah, it's okay, I guess. Yeah.
Nerd. Maddie, what was it that made you happy cry? I think in the beginning I was just giddy. And just like seeing it come, hearing, my favorite song is My Shot, and just like watching it happen just like brought like chills and like happy tears to my eyes. And like I had said a little bit ago, I love Jonathan Groff, and seeing him on stage just like, and then I just was giggling and like more tears came to my eyes. Like it was so exciting to actually see it happen, that I just got happy emotions. And like the little spittle on his mouth, I was just like, that just added to the character.
He just goes over the top. It's perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's amazing. Well, because King George was mad, and he was king for a really long time, so long that his son was an old man when he took over.
Really?
Fun fact. Yep.
And see, I didn't know.
But so that's very well. I think he plays him very well, because you're starting to see that's what they're playing on, is like the cracks of his personality that are coming out. But of course, they're doing very comedically and very well. And I think it does fit in exactly the way you would want it to.
Right.
Yeah.
This turkey nerd. Everyone on Twitter is talking about the spit. Yes, I saw Lin-Manuel Miranda tweet about the spit, and I was like, that just like made it. It just made it that much better. Like
you're like, everyone sees it.
Everyone saw it. And it was perfect, and it's like I wouldn't change that. Like don't clean your mouth. Just keep going. You're this weird, wacky, tyrant. Yes, spit.
Yeah. Get loud. Be weird. Yeah.
Yes,
that's true.
Exactly. Yeah. So I guess I didn't know as much as I thought I did. Like with King George, I know he was a tyrant and he was a terrible person, but like he wasn't well. Was he like mentally ill? Was that a thing? Okay.
Yep. Yes, he was king for a very long time. I don't remember I will not quote the exact years because I'll get it wrong, I promise you.
Yeah, that's okay.
But yes, his son, King George IV, was, yes. Yeah.
Wow.
I will make a recommendation.
Some mental issues then.
Yeah, I'll make a recommendation too. If everyone out there has never seen Horrible Histories, it's this BBC show that is about, actually, it's about world history. They do a really good job of representing extremely accurate history, and I really enjoy it. It used to be on the BBC from 2009 to 2013. You can watch it on Hulu, but there's a lot about King George in there, and you can learn about him. And there's some fun songs. Okay. And I know your son would like it. It's for kids. It's for kids and adults. It's like an all ages thing.
Oh, fun. I'll have to do that. And it was funny too. Ryan came in at one point, and King George was singing, and I was giggling, and he goes, "Who's that?" And I said, "That's King George. He's not very nice. He's the bad guy." And he goes, "Well, how can he be the bad guy when he's singing such a silly song?"
You're like, that's a good question.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. This turkey nerd asks, what is your favorite character, Taylor?
Oh, I mean, it's like silly to say Hamilton, but probably Hamilton or Eliza. I relate to both of them in different ways. I would say Hamilton because he's like sort of a workaholic, and that's unfortunately how I am. I will admit it. But Eliza is the way that she is written in Hamilton is very, very compelling, and I really love the incredible. Yeah, she's wonderful, and makes me think about a lot of her lines, a lot of her songs, bits of songs make me think. And I like singing Eliza as well, so there you go.
Yeah.
It's a fun one.
Yeah. Very cool. Nice. Yeah. I don't know. I honestly feel like I need to watch it again to give myself like a more solid answer. I do love that the same guy who played Lafayette was also Jefferson.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was rapping with a French accent and then singing with this complete, like, really hard American accent was just like the opposite of the characters. Like, maybe Lafayette's my favorite, or he's just my favorite actor. But just like to go from like, yeah, I'm all about this revolution, I'm gonna do this with like a French accent, and then coming back as like, I'm gonna destroy Hamilton's career.
Right,
like,
great, cool.
Going from playing his like best friend to like his worst enemy just is incredible talent.
Great. Yeah, Daveed Diggs is extremely talented. He has so many projects that have come out in the past few years. He was just in an indie film. I can't think of the title of it, but he's been in a bunch of things. I'm sure you've seen him. Kimmy Schmidt is a good one that I feel like people may have not realized he was in, but he's in like season 3 of Kimmy Schmidt. 2 or 3. Yes, he is. Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Now I have to watch Kimmy Schmidt.
So yeah, Daveed Diggs, amazing actor. If you like anyone out there never seen anything else he's done, I recommend you definitely look up his other projects. Yeah. Because he's awesome. He's super talented.
Yeah, he's extremely talented. Mm-hmm. This Dorky Nerd said Horrible History is on Amazon Prime. She also says, I really love Aaron Burr. I think he's a great character study on how an average guy can go over the age.
That's true.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do like, it was very interesting when in the scene where Aaron Burr and Thomas Jefferson were like, okay, well, which one of us is going to have your vote? And Hamilton was like, I'm not voting for you because you don't take a stance on anything.
Right.
I was like, I even like audibly went,
like,
dude,
like it
he kills you. Okay, like, or over the edge. Yeah, okay, over the edge.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, well, I mean, the letters that they reference at the end too are real. Where they wrote each other back and forth, and Hamilton was just making him progressively more angry, which is not a reason to kill anyone ever. Right. But I think there was a lot of him did not have a good life after that. He got divorced from his next wife. Hamilton's son represented the wife, and they won against Burr. And his daughter went missing at age 29 in a shipwreck. The one daughter he had died in a shipwreck. She disappeared. They don't know what happened to her.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
I love
so there's like some maybe weird circumstance there. Like he did not live a good life after this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, if you're hopping in, we're talking about Hamilton. If you have any questions or comments, drop them in, and we'll do our best to answer them. It's crazy. I mean, I can imagine, like, even with the end of the song, it almost sounded like he was already living with this guilt of like, what did I do? And when Hamilton had the gun straight up, I was like, that's what his son did. And like you said, drawing the parallel, I was like, I lost it. I'm done.
And it hits you like when you're watching the vision, it hits you so much more, and so much happens in the last song that unfolds and it unfolds and it unfolds, and it's like wave after wave. Yeah. So much emotion.
Yeah.
With that song.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was, It's really emotional, and I love learning those little tidbits. Like I'm glad that I get to talk to you about it, because like I said, I enjoyed history, but after college, after I took my class, I just kind of stopped. This dorky nerd, Eliza's scream is so powerful. Oh
God.
Talk about gut wrenching, like that
hits you in the chest.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is something you don't get listening to the soundtrack. And see, I hadn't gotten that far in the soundtrack, so
right.
I don't know if does she scream in the soundtrack or no?
No, she does not.
Okay, so that was the stage direction, not part of the song. Oh my, whew, yeah, that was powerful. Yeah. And it was, I kind of cheated a little bit when I was watching, when he was talking about with the Reynolds letters and she was singing the song.
Oh yeah,
Burn It or First Burn or something like that. And I Googled, the Reynolds pamphlet, and I first of all, in my head I was like, then write a letter to tell everyone else so that when he looked good in the eyes of the law. I was like, so I looked it up, and it said she didn't divorce him, and then after her son's death is when they reconciled or whatever. And so I was like, okay, so now their son's gonna die. And I think it was like 30 seconds later, Philip was like, I'm gonna go have this duel. And I was like, no, it's already coming.
Like, what happened? No. Why is this so out of control? Yeah, it just sort of goes, it just spirals. Like, I mean, you can see how, I mean, we can talk about tragic stories for historical figures all day. There's many of them, but, you can kind of track how that unfolds. Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of why, everybody says the second half, stop listening to Hamilton at the first half if you just want to be happy.
Right.
It's not going to happen in the second part.
That's the last half of his life, and it's just is one bad thing after another. This dorky nerd says you also don't get Lauren's death in the soundtrack. Oh my gosh,
that's true.
In that blue light, and like talking about what had happened in the beginning of the show, how he was excited to be part of this, and then he lost his life doing what he was hoping to do. I was just wow. And I mean, like you said, you don't get it in the soundtrack, and it hit hard. It's like, no, because he's like, I get a letter from Lauren. Oh,
and you're like, wait.
And then she said it's from his father. I was like, that means he's dead.
Yeah, this is not good. This does not bode well.
No.
Your
friend's dad doesn't write you letters unless something bad happens.
Not really.
Yeah, that was really, really awful. And so again, with the soundtrack thing, this whole second half was, even part of the first half was so...
Oh, absolutely.
And so it was kind of fun to go in almost blind and like not knowing what with how much they kept singing and rapping. Like there was almost like there was no break. They didn't talk. It was straight music, and that just blew my mind.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting I guess those are the sort of musicals I tend to gravitate to more. There's like a whole field of study on separating musicals if they have a complete soundtrack narrative versus some talking and some. It's really silly, but this is again something you don't need to know as a normal person. An opera, that's what an opera is. It's all sung. Right. So you get it's an interesting throwback because again, Lin-Manuel knew what he was doing when he wrote that musical, and he is a very well-versed individual. I mean, he wrote In the Heights prior to Hamilton, which is also an excellent musical. If no one's ever seen or listened to it, so good. I would recommend it. You get a very similar flavor to his writing style. So if you like his writing style, it's definitely present in the Heights. So he, when he got to Hamilton, I mean, he developed it for years. He knew what he was doing when he did it. He had
Right.
workshopped that. Um, he did it. There's a clip of him. I think it's, I don't want to say Presidential Medal of Honor. Maybe it's just like a White House dinner, but he's there and he does I think he does the opening number for Barack Obama. There's a clip on YouTube from like 2014 or something, I want to say, of him doing this. And it's one of the first times he ever debuts Hamilton. It was on PBS some time ago, and then they put it up on YouTube.
Oh,
So
okay.
you can watch that if you want to like see an early rendition of that. I think there's like a word that's changed. It's the same, but it's really interesting to see him do this because it's like literally the first time the public is hearing it, and you can see him doing it in real time and having emotions while singing it, and it's really
The movie trailer looks
yes amazing. Yes. Oh my gosh, please.
Is the movie like a movie or is it a musical movie?
Yes, it's it's a musical movie, but it's like
Okay.
like we were talking about Newsies or any other like Jersey Boys was a movie, right? They did a movie of Jersey Boys. It's like I don't remember, probably I think so. You could tell I never saw. I did see that on in Chicago on the stage, which was very good. What else? Like any movie musical you've ever seen, in your life. It's
Right.
gonna be like that, from what I recall.
Okay.
Yeah.
If the movie by Warner Brothers. Okay. I know. It does look really good. I'm not like super well versed in a lot of musicals. I think I know like the ones everyone's heard of. But I know
That's
like
fine.
yeah. Into the Heights does look really good.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Keeping It Clean, Naomi, if you're
The phenomenon.
it's so good. And it's it was nice because I was reading people asking about like the language
Right.
before it came out. They were like, okay, well, can my child watch this, because I know that I believe it's PG-13.
It is, yes. Disney Plus.
So they did remove a couple of the F-bombs.
Yeah, there are 3 F-bombs and 1 purposely edited out F-bomb.
Yes, I noticed.
Yes.
I noticed that with the beep at the.
Yeah, that is intentional of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the 1776 reference. That's it. When he does that, yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
That's so fun. I didn't know that. Yeah. So it's just kind of cool that like they didn't change the integrity of the musical when they edited a couple of the things out, so that way it could still be more or less appropriate for children who happen to be watching it with their parents who are glued to the TV like myself.
Yes.
Who are like,
true.
I'm not pausing it. I'm just gonna sit here and watch it. If you need something, go help yourself.
Like figure it out.
Watch with me.
Yeah.
it's just how it is, But I'm just really glad that we got it early, and it's like the perfect weekend to have it early, and just to learn, like, to hear the line where it's like, we're not all free unless. That I didn't know this going into it, but I didn't realize that Hamilton was one of the only founding fathers who did not own slaves.
Yes, there is a very, very short list. Like a lot of his friends were abolitionists, like John Lawrence. There's an entire in the exhibition. They actually had a lot of information about this because he had obviously come from a very specific island that was in, it was in this Caribbean that he saw this occurring. Like he saw enslaved peoples there, always there, and there was an entire. That's why I feel like that exhibition was incredible because they did not, cut corners. They did not lie about this. They were very upfront. Like, this is what happened, and this is how this carried through into the revolution. It did not go away. There were people who wanted it to go away. That's actually something in 1776, a musical that they talk about. where they have a fight over that, which is interesting. So that is educational for reasons that I think people never talk about in history class. So I would recommend that if people are interested in watching it, because it does have some more like honest disclosure of things like that. But yes, Hamilton, the exhibition was very well curated in that respect. I do not think they glorified, in my opinion, any of that. It was very honest, and I was very appreciative to see that, because a lot of people went when it was open, as far as I was aware.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's incredible. Yeah. Just dorky nerdy. It's a PG-13 rating, so it should be
in why am I blanking? When he's with Maria Reynolds.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. That's the one they kept it in. Battle of Yorktown has one that they censored. I can't think of the third one off the top of my head. But yeah. I'm happy that people will be able to show this in like school too.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Right. Absolutely.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. I know when this came out and I found out about it, I was like, where was this when I was in AP US history in high school? This would have made learning history so much more interesting when they talked about the founding fathers. Like,
yes,
it's so good. And it's based off a book by someone, right?
Yes, it's by, oh gosh, I have it in my living room. Yes, it is this gigantic book. It's like this thick, of this historian. He is like the historian on Hamilton.
Okay.
He's an older man. I can't think of his name. It's so bad. Usually I'm really good with names and remembering things, and I'm having a bad time. That's how Lin-Manuel Miranda got the idea for the story in the first place. He did tweak some things, like the Schuyler sisters. They did have a brother, and certain things about, Angelica was married. They don't say that in the musical. There's bits, like little bits here and there that are left out or just changed. But I would say the integrity of the story is like well maintained.
Right. And you do kind of need some like artistic what's the word? Like when people write a book or like take a movie and turn it, not book to movie, but like
like a screenplay. Yeah.
Something, Alexander Hamilton, book by Ron Chernow.
Ron Chernow, that's the guy. Yep, Chernow. It's like thick. It's a thick book.
I feel like most history books are like incredibly thick. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, if you guys are hopping in, we got a couple minutes left, probably about like 5 or 6 minutes left. We're chatting about Hamilton and history and as a whole. Thank you.
That's the word. That's it. But yeah, I think he did that because, those differences really don't reflect that much on the story if you think about those bits. There's nothing that he changed that like impacts the message or, the kind of some of the realism of the character, like who those people really were or why he framed them in the way that he did. So yeah, I don't think it was overall negative.
Little, like minor details that you didn't need to tell his story. We didn't need to see a brother to understand Hamilton's relationship with the Schuyler sisters.
Exactly.
Because he did have a relationship with Angelica. Even though it was not physical.
Yes, that's true. Yes.
It was still, still a relationship with her. And so, it just, and what kept like, what it's called in the theater, but like the lazy Susan, when it was spinning everything around to make it look like they were walking, or to act with that. Like I did theater in high school, which is kind of like, obviously nothing like this, but to do something like that is just looks like it would take a lot of work and a lot of practice to get used to that kind of movement. Yeah,
that's like extra choreography. Like you're thinking about the way everything moves. Then amazing thing about that set design is that they don't need a lot to have it. So that's the genius of that piece in the set design is that it makes everything work. And yeah. And then of course it mirrors the hurricane. And see, this is why you could go on forever about all the symbolism in Hamilton. It's really, 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 really complicated. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, then that's what I noticed too, was this, like you said, there's no set changes. They just kept it.
No.
They brought in a table and then they put it back. And then they brought in the table and then they put it back.
Yep.
So this turkey nerd. Yeah. Which Hamilton song will be stuck in your head this week? My shot. That's
nonstop. Yeah, exactly. You're like, this is gonna be in my head forever.
Yeah, that and You'll Be Back. It just, I know him. It just, those little pieces, the way that he's just sings it, almost like he has that little inflection, but he also sounds like, ooh, in his voice, you can hear that I'm higher and mightier than you. Oh, you'll be back.
Right, I know. Yeah, I know better, and you don't.
I'll send a fully armed battalion.
Exactly. That's to remind you of my love, because that's how you'll love me.
And just hearing Jonathan Groff go I didn't know they could do that when he was talking about them switching powers. I didn't know that was a thing. Well,
you're here you go.
He was in power for so long. He didn't know.
Oh no, it's true.
Yeah, that's so
crazy.
Fun. What about you? What song's gonna be stuck in your head, you guys?
Yeah. Tell us. There's so many good ones. I mean, I could also sing Skylar Sisters Forever. That's a great song. Mm-hmm. Wait for It.
Yep.
Obviously.
Yes.
Yes.
And Hamilton Polka. And so
I did know about this. Yes.
He took all of the songs, most of the songs, and mashed them together in a polka style. And so it just my son loves that song. And there were a couple of the songs in there, again, since I hadn't listened to the whole soundtrack, that I knew, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it.
Oh, yeah.
Weird Al, and then it came on. I was like, oh, okay, this is how it's
supposed
to go.
I see it now.
Yes. This Dorky Nerd says, wait for it. It's the song that speaks to me the most.
Yes. That's my partner's favorite song. He also loves Aaron Burr so much. Yeah. Aaron Burr is his fave. And Leslie Odom Jr. is also a stellar performer.
He's so good.
Yeah, he's got some amazing music that's outside of Hamilton. If no one's ever listened to it, go listen to it. Oh my. Yes. Yeah. And then the mixtape. If no one's ever heard that, go listen to it now, because it's really good.
Okay.
The mixtape's really, and the mixtape is it's very supplemental to the musical, so you're gonna hear, because it's certain versions of the songs that are then recorded with very famous hip hop and R&B artists, and they're reflective of all the music in the musical. It's an amazing project, the mixtape.
Okay.
So I would recommend that too.
Awesome.
Yep, Hamilton mixtape.
But I also didn't enjoy Wrote My Way Out on the soundtrack, but seeing it live, I think now it's my favorite. Yeah, it's just seeing the video, seeing it and feeling it. There's one thing to feel a song, but then seeing it while it's being performed is completely. Yeah. I think there's as much visual importance in certain ways to this musical as there is the actual music. Mm-hmm. And you definitely see so much more of it when you witness the musical, which is interesting. Yeah. I know what I'll be watching all weekend.
There you go. Yeah, I think we were gonna watch it tomorrow again. Yeah. Because this is gonna get me stuck in a loop. You did not want to know me when I first found Hamilton, because That's all I listened to. It was not good. Or no, nobody around me like hated it. They're all like really excited about it. I was one of the Tumblr fans of Hamilton when it was just starting on Broadway, and people were ripping the songs onto Tumblr from the would take the early versions and they were workshopping off Broadway, and there were certain like singles that people would upload, and then you could listen to it, and I didn't have any frame of reference for what it was going on.
Right.
But then when they actually released the soundtrack, then I was like, oh, this makes so much more sense now. Okay.
Yes, I get it now. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it just progressively became worse and worse, or better and better. I don't know.
Better.
Yeah.
Kelly Clarkson on the mixtape kills me. I'll have to check out the mixtape.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.